In Parshas Bereishis, we're taught the first mitzvah, the mitzvah of ורבו. There's actually a pivotal moment in the times of the Navi Yeshaya that surrounds the mitzvah of ורבו. And there's a famous kasha from the Yeshayah that I would like to discuss. We know that Sancheriv, the Melech of Ashur, was conquering the whole area, and then he came up to conquer Yerushalayim. At that point, the king of Malchus Beis David was Chizkiyahu Hamelech. Chizkiyahu Hamelech was the one that had taught Klal Yisrael all that Torah. He was the great king of Malchus Beis David. Chizkiyahu Hamelech falls sick, and he's deathly ill. The pasuk tells us in Perek Lamed Ches, it seemed like Chizkiyahu Hamelech was going to die. We know how it ends. We know that at the end, Chizkiyahu, the Sancheriv's army dies out. That all happened on the night of Pesach, but before that, the night before that, there was this very, very important conversation that happened between Chizkiyahu Hamelech and the Navi Yeshaya. And the Gemarah Berachos, that Yud and Aleph tells us the backdrop to that conversation. The Gemarah begins with telling us that me. The Gemarah quotes a pasuk in Kehelis, mi ka'achacham umi Gemarah in Daf Yud and Aleph in Berachos, mi ka'achacham umi yodea pesha davar. Who's like this wise? Who's wise and knows how to settle a dispute? What was the dispute? There was a dispute between Chizkiyahu and Yeshayahu. Chizkiyahu was the king; he was the great ruler. He was the king of Malchus Beis David, and Yeshayahu was the Navi. And each one felt that it would be more appropriate for the other one that for them to meet, one would have to go visit the other one. So Chizkiyahu Hamelech felt that it was more appropriate for the Navi to come to him, and the Navi felt it was more appropriate for the Melech to go visit the Navi. And they each had cases in the precedent where we find the king went to visit a Navi, and where we found the Navi to go visit a king. And they weren't meeting. Now, why was it so important to meet? So Rashi tells us, as the Gemarah is gonna sort of point out, that there was a big problem. Chizkiyahu Hamelech was not married, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted that Yeshayahu Hanavi should go and rebuke him and give him teichacha that he has to marry. But they weren't meeting, so there was no opportunity for Yeshayahu Hanavi to give over the message to Chizkiyahu Hamelech. So what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? Mi ka'achacham mi yodea pesha davar. What was the eitzah that the Eibishter employed? So the Eibishter made bayam lahem chala Chizkiyahu lamos. The Eibishter made that Chizkiyahu should be on his deathbed, and then once Chizkiyahu Hamelech is on his deathbed, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Yeshayahu, now you have to go visit. You have to go visit Chizkiyahu Hamelech to go be Mevaker Choleh. That's the beginning of Perek Lamed Ches in Yeshayahu. Shenemar vayom lahem choleh Chizkiyahu lamos. Chizkiyahu Hamelech dies, is on his deathbed. He's sick. He's deathly ill. Vayavi Elov Yeshayahu ben Amos Hanavi. Vayemer Elov, and Yeshayahu Hanavi tells Chizkiyahu Hamelech, Klei Amar Hashem tzav lebeisecha give your last will and testament. You're going to die. The Gemara says that he's gonna both lose both this world and the world to come. So Chizkiyahu Hamelech says, Michael, hi, what did I do so terrible that why should he lose out both in this world and the world to come? He says, because he didn't marry. So Chizkiyahu Hamelech says, I had a very good reason why I didn't marry. Of course he wanted to begin a family, but he couldn't because I saw Beruach HaKodesh, he had nevuah that what? The nafki mina ibnin d'leimayli, that there was going to be that he's going to have children that were not heilig b'derech Hashem. He was going to have Menashe. Amalei, so Yeshayahu told him, Bahadi kafshi d'rachmana lamalach, Bahadi kafshi d'rachmana is the hidden things of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is you shouldn't be looking into. Mai the mifkedis iboyelach lemevad, what you are commanded to do, you have to do. And whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to do with your children, that's already up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But you're still commanded to go and to get married and have a child. Amalei. So then Chizkiyahu Hamelech says, okay, if Hashem says that I have to marry, I have to marry. So but now I'm sick, and now. So Chizkiyahu Hamelech says, okay, you know what? If I'm now that I want to marry, Amalei hashta havli bratach. You give me your daughter. Efshe the garma schusa didi v'didach. So in other words, Chizkiyahu was suggesting that he'll marry the daughter of the Navi. And Efshe the garma schusa didi v'didach. Maybe a schus. I'll have my schusim. Chizkiyahu Hamelech had tremendous amount of schusim, and your schusim, the schusim of Yeshayahu Hanavi. V'nafki mina ibn indamalu, and we'll have children that will come out b'derech Hashem. So here's the important part. Amalei, so Yeshayahu tells him, it's too late. You're already sick, you're on your deathbed, it's too late. Nigzara alecha gzera. We can't revoke the gzera, and that's it, you're dying. That's what Yeshayahu Hanavi tells Chizkiyahu Hamelech. Amalei, so Chizkiyahu Hamelech gets upset. He says, Amalei ben Amutz. He called him ben Amutz. So he was Yeshayahu ben Amutz. He calls him ben Amutz in a less bakavidig away. He says, Amalei ben Amutz, kale nevuah say, enough with your nevuah and leave. Kach mikublani v'beis aviyaba. This is what I have b'kabola from my family, from David Hamelech, beis avi Abba, from the father of Malchus beis David. Afילו cherev chadam menachas al tzavari shel adam. Even if somebody has a sharp, he's in the guillotine already, he has a sharp knife at his throat already, it's menachas al tzavari shel adam al yimnע min harachamim. You could still pull back, you could still be mispal. That's the end of the story, and we know what ends up happening. Chizkiyahu Hamelech is mispal, and he gets better, and he's given another 15 years. And the next day, Sancheriv's army dies out. Chizkiyahu Hamelech does end up marrying Yeshayah Hanavi's daughter, and after Pikain they had Menashe. Chizkiyahu's oldest child was Menashe, who was Taka, a king that wasn't a tzaddik like his father. He was Taka b'din d'leimayli. But in this Gemarah, there was a shakavataya. There's a conversation over here where Yeshayah Hanavi tells Chizkiyahu, it's too late. You can't revoke the gzera. There was already a gzera, kvar nigzara alecha gzera, and you can't revoke the gzera. And Chizkiyahu Hamelech says, what do you mean? Kach mikoblani beis aviyaba. There's always a chance. We could always pull back. That's the Gemarah. So Reb Kvegen, the Gilyon Hashas, on the side of the Gemarah, he refers us to the Turei Even. The Turei Even is the sefer that the Shagasai wrote on Rosh Hashanah. Shagasai asks a kasha. He says the Gemarah on Rosh Hashanah, the Gemarah Rosh Hashanah, Daf Yud Chesam and Aleph clearly states that once there's already a gzera on a yachid, meaning if it's on a whole tzibur, if it's a whole community, then even a gzera could be revoked. However, if it's a yachid, if it's only one person, then you can't revoke it once there's already a gzera. So why here Yeshayah Hanavi tells Chizkiyahu Hamelech kvar nigzara rachel gzera? There was already a gzera. And Chizkiyahu Hamelech is a yachid. It's one person that he's going to die. And still we see that the gzera was revoked. So how do we reconcile these two Gemaras? The Gemarah in Berachos seems to say that, seems to end off that Chizkiyahu was correct, that even though there was already a gzera, Yeshayah Hanavi says there was a gzera. And Chizkiyahu Hamelech insisted that even though it was a gzera, it could be revoked. And it was revoked. On the other hand, the Gemarah in Rosh Hashanah seems to say that by a yachid, once there's a gzera, it's too late. The Gemarah in Rosh Hashanah says that in Aseres Yemei Tshuva, even a gzera by a yachid could be revoked. But this wasn't Aseres Yemei Tshuva. This was Erev Pesach. So Erev Pesach, a gzera on a yachid cannot be revoked. That is the kasha. So the Shagzai wants to say that maybe since Chizkiyahu was a king, so he had a koyach like a tzibur, or a different teretz. He says such kind of things. I want to suggest a different teretz. We started off the Gemarah saying that there's a backdrop to the story, to this conversation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Chizkiyahu was not supposed to get sick. The reason why he got sick is because that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted that Yeshayahu Hanavi should meet Chizkiyahu, and he should give him, and he should set him straight. He should tell him to get married. That was the reason for the whole charade. That was the reason for the whole thing. That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu made Chizkiyahu get sick. All this because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted Yeshayahu to go tell Chizkiyahu Hamelech to get married. That's what the Gemarah says. Nonetheless, Yeshayahu Hanavi says that it's too late. That you can't. That Chizkiyahu Hamelech wanted to go get married, and he wanted to marry Yeshayah's daughter, and the Navi says it's too late. Obviously, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent Yeshayahu Hanavi to go to made it look like there was a real possibility that Chizkiyahu was going to die. And it's hard to say that the Navi made a mistake, but it wasn't a mistake. HaKadosh Baruch Hu set it up in such a way that Chizkiyahu shouldn't. That Yeshayah Hanavi should think that Chizkiyahu was about to die, that it was a gzera, and it can't be revoked. I mean, so if like the Shagzari, it's also schwer. Why the rule that Chizkiyahu Hamelech said was that I have a cloud that afילו cherev chadam menachas al tzavar shel adam yimnע עצמו מן הרחמים. That seems to be a rule for everybody, not just for a king. That's for everybody. So maybe the truth is that it was not nigzara gzera. It was not nigzara gzera. And since it wasn't nigzera gzera, Chizkiyahu Hamelech was able to revoke it. Why did Yeshayahu Hanavi say kvar nigzera lecha gzera? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it look like it was nigzera gzera. But of course it wasn't nigzera gzera. It wasn't nigzera gzera. And since it wasn't nigzera gzera, it was able to be revoked. And the reason why Yeshayahu Hanavi said kvar nigzera lecha gzera is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it look like it was kvar nigzera lecha gzera, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted that Yeshayahu Hanavi should go and be Mevaker Choleh and think that he has to go give him his last. He has to go tell him this nevuah of Tzal Beisachel Kimei Sata V'Leisechia. And it could be that the klal of afilu cherev chad menachas al tzavor shel adam al yimnע עצמו מן הרחמים is also based on that. Even though somebody's cherev chad is menachas al tzavor shel adam, and it seems like it's kvar nigzera gzera, it looks like it's all over. It looks like it was already gzera. I mean, that's the last point. It seems like it was already gzera. But it could be that it's not kvar nigzera gzera. That's the cloud, just like we find in this case, that there was no gzera. It seemed like there was a gzera. Chizkiyahu Hamelech was already on his deathbed, but the truth was that it was not a gzera. The gzera had not. There was no gzera yet, and since there was no gzera, it was able to be revoked, and Chizkiyahu Hamelech was able to live for another 15 years.